Hello everyone, it is me, Dr. Laserbeam, and this is League of Legends 101, where I go over certain parts of the game, League of Legends. Today we'll be talking about Janna, the Storm's Fury, or as I like to call her, the Flying Naked Lady. Janna is a high mobility and high utility support who is fantastic at peeling and keeping her teammates alive. Her fantastic defensive abilities make her a prime choice for low mobility or escape carries. Pros to Janna are, she's fast as hell, good peel, great trades, and easy to learn. Cons to Janna are, she's squishy and very team dependent. Janna works well with champions who have a good laning phase, are late game hyper carries, or can use Janna's knockup to their advantage. Such champions are Yasuo, Draven, Caitlyn, and Vayne. Janna is strong against melee supports who depend on good engages to gain a lead. Such supports are Leona, Thresh, Alistar, and Braum. Janna is weak against supports who heal and have good trade or are simply a kill lane. Such supports are Sona, Nami, Blitzcrank, and Zyra. For Janna's runes, I suggest getting a good mix of health and ability power runes followed up by magic resist or armor runes depending on your planned build and lane matchup. For Janna's Masteries, I suggest 12 into Resolve and 18 into Cunning, with Windspeaker's Blessing being your keystone mastery. Now onto Janna's abilities. First we have her passive, which is Tailwind. Tailwind increases the movement speed of all incoming nearby allies by 8%. This is a fairly straightforward ability and is just a nice touch of Janna's kit. It makes traveling to lanes faster and makes moving as a team all that much more important during the mid to late game. Next we have her Q, which is Howling Gale. Upon activation, Janna summons a small tornado at a target location. When reactivated, or when heading to the max charge limit, the tornado will go in a straight line. Any enemies caught in its path will have magic damage dealt to them and be knocked up for a certain amount of time, depending on how long the tornado was charged for. This is a fantastic ability for disengaging and peeling for your carries, as well as for a fair engage. This ability is best used to halt enemies in the pursuit for blood, and a possible mechanic to stop a distance closing ability such as Lee Sin's Jump or Leona's Leroy Jenkins. Basically, you want to use this ability to slow the enemy team down. Remember, the closer they are, the harder it is for them to dodge your tornado, so use that to your advantage. Now onto Janna's W, which is Zephyr. This ability has both a passive and an active. The passive increases Janna's movement speed and allows her to move for units. The active slows an enemy down and deals magic damage, as well as cancelling her passive until the cooldown is complete. This ability is very important for quite a few reasons. With the passive in effect, this makes you hard to catch and allows you to roam and ward with safety and speed. When using it as an active, it's a very reliable form of CC that is both effective and impossible to miss since it's a single target ability. When the fighting starts, try to find who's trying to kill your carry and slow the crap out of them with this ability. If chasing the enemy, the passive will allow you to catch up on them and the active will allow you to slow them down for your teammates. Next we have her E, which is Eye of the Storm. Janna shields an allied champion and grants some bonus AD until her shield expires or is destroyed. For defensive reasons, this shield is a solid way to gain an edge in trading as well as saving people's lives. For aggressive reasons, the bonus AD allows for fantastic damage output to be dealt and creates a healthy laning phase. This is Janna's most important ability, for its defensive and offensive capabilities are simply too big to ignore. Upgrading this ability first should create a dominant lane at best and a surviving lane at worst. Last we have her ult, which is Monsoon. Janna pushes back all nearby enemy champions and heals allied ones within their domain. This ability is a lifesaver for you and your fellow squishy allies. This will guarantee that any assassins or other high damage enemy champions will be pushed away from you and your allies. Besides protecting you from picks, this ability is also fantastic for disengaging losing teamfights. What's important to note about this ability, however, is that finding the perfect opportunity to use this ult can be tricky. You want to make sure it is used for peeling purposes, therefore using it in offensive situations may prove ineffective. You also want to make sure you have a good idea where the enemy champions will go, for you can find yourself screwing over your allies if a Fed Riven flies into your ADC. Just stay aware of your surroundings, and when the shit hits the fan, make sure to ult. For Janna's skill order, I'd suggest upgrading your E first, followed by your W, and then topping it off by upgrading your Q. Of course, upgrade your ult whenever you can. For Janna's starting items, you want to start off with a Spell Thief's Edge or an Ancient Coin, depending on if you plan to poke or want to play it safe. Regardless of your choice, you should also follow this up with Health Pots and a Warding Totem. The only core items for Janna are support items, so once you finish those, you'll want to upgrade your boots into Swiftness or Mobility. If you got Spell Thiefs, I'd suggest going with Swiftness, and if you got Ancient, I'd suggest going with Mobility. After you finish your boots, you'll want to get a mana regen item. The items I'd suggest would be Mikael's Crucible if you are against heavy CC, or Ardent Sensor if you have a lot of DPS or AD on your team. After that, I'd suggest building a Locket, Frozen Heart, Zeke's Banner of Command, or a ZZ Portal. Pick and choose the ones you think would work best in your situation. For Janna's spells, you will always want to go Flash plus Exhaust. There is almost never any exception. In the early game, Janna is very passive. You want to stay behind your ADC and make sure you protect him from engages with your Q and win trades with your E. You would only want to attempt to poke if the enemy support is melee and when the enemy ADC is trying to farm. You also want to make sure to restrict yourself to basic attacks and maybe your W only, for your Q will be critical if they decide to engage or if you're about to get ganked. While I would say Janna is best played passive and defensively, you can still gain a lead if not in a traditional way. If you look to create a lead in the early game, you don't want to engage against the enemy bot lane, but rather slowly chip away at them by getting better trades and act more aggressively as it gets lower. You want to save your W and Q for a friendly jungle gank, or to go all in if you think that's the best course of action. In the mid game, you want to use your newfound speed to get good wards by objectives and within the enemy jungle if you can. Traveling in groups could help you and your team travel the map better, and therefore will lead to more opportunities to gank enemies and secure objectives. If you find yourself under siege, you will prove to be a critical asset to your team, as your E will be used to protect your towers. In the late game, you are all about peeling and protecting your carries. Make sure to shield your AD carries in teamfights and use your Q to peel for them, W high mobility enemies, and ult when the fight is not in your favor. This has been League of Legends 101. Let me know if you found this video to be helpful, and for all you Janna players out there, let's make Lemon Nation proud.